Students, today we will continue the evolution chapter where we'll study different theories of biological evolution. So here we'll study theory of Lamarck, Lamarckism or theory of inheritance of acquired character. Next, Darwinism, that is theory of natural selection, and mutation theory of De Vries, right? So what is Lamarckism? Lamarck is the person who proposed the theory of inheritance and acquired characters. So it states that evolution of life forms occurred by the inheritance of only acquired characters. So what are the characters that are acquired? During genetics you have studied inherited acquired characters. What are the acquired characters? What is inheritance of acquired characters? So acquired characters are developed by use and disuse of organs. So evolution by use of organs. Example is long neck of giraffe. It is due to continuous elongation of forage leaves on the trees. This acquired character was inherited to succeeding generation. So evolution by disuse is disappearance of limbs in the snakes. As you can see, what is Lamarckism? Lamarckism andrene yav organism yavdo part of its body, okay? So yavdo part anna yavdo ಒಂದು ವರ್ಕ್ ಅನ್ನ ಫಂಕ್ಷನ್ ಅನ್ನ ಕಂಟಿನ್ಯೂಸ್ ಆಗಿ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಮಾಡತ್ರ ಆ ಆರ್ಗನ್ ಇನ್ನೂ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಡೆವಲಪ್ ಆಗ್ತೈತಿ. ಸೊ ಯೂಸ್ ಎಷ್ಟು ಆಗ್ತೈತಲ್ಲ ಆ ಆರ್ಗನ್ ಅಷ್ಟು ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಅದು ಡೆವಲಪ್ ಆಗ್ತೈತಿ. ಆ ಯಾವ ಆರ್ಗನನ್ನು ನೀವು ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡಂಗಿಲ್ಲಲ್ಲ ಆ ಆರ್ಗನ್ ಏನಾಗ್ತೈತಿ, ಟೈಮ್ ಬರ್ತಾ ಎವಲ್ಯೂಷನ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಅದು ಆರ್ಗನ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ಆಗ್ತೈತಿ. ಆ ಆರ್ಗನ್ ಫಂಕ್ಷನಿಂಗ್ ಇರಂಗಿಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ಫಾರ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ ದ್ಯಾಟ್ ಓನ್ಲಿ ಯು ಆರ್ ಸ್ಟಡಿಂಗ್ ದಿ long neck giraffe. So as you might have you might be very familiar with this example. So it was seen that giraffe was not having that long neck before, but because of there was so much competition in the other organism, the giraffe tried to take the leaves from the very longer trees. So by this, the neck of the giraffe was always in the stretching functioning, right? Stretching function. So they after so many years, because of the evolution, now the giraffe is having longer neck. Okay, so this is example of use of organs. So giraffe adar organ yavdanna ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡತ್ತೆ? neck. So that is why the giraffe is having longer neck. So evolution by disuse. So disuse ಆಗತ್ರ ಏನಾಕೈತಿ, ಡಿಸ್ಅಪಿಯರೆನ್ಸ್ ಆಗ್ಬಿಡ್ತೈತಿ. ಸೊ ಡಿಸ್ಯೂಸ್ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಫಾರ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ ಸ್ನೇಕ್ಸಿಗೆ ಮುಂಚೆ ಲಿಮ್ಸ್ ಇದ್ದು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. ಸೊ ಬಟ್ ದ ಲಿಮ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಸ್ನೇಕ್ಸ್ ವೇರ್ ನಾಟ್ ಸೋ ಮಚ್ ಯೂಸ್ಡ್. ಅದು ಮತ್ತು ಕ್ರಾಲ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂತ ಹೋಗ್ತಿತ್ತು. ಸೊ ಲಿಮ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನ ಪ್ರಾಪರ್ ಅದು ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡಿಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ಅಲ್ಲೇನಾತ ಡಿಸ್ಯೂಸ್ ಆಯ್ತು. ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ವೈ ದ limbs were disappeared. So the disuse example is disappearance of limbs in the snakes. Use example is use of long neck of the giraffe. So this theory, but still it was eliminated out because it is proved that characters are inherited only through the genes. Environmental acquired andrena, which we acquire. As we say, now hang function ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ by the environment, so we acquire, okay, some characters. So but it was said that ಕ್ಯಾರೆಕ್ಟರ್ಸ್ ಏನೋ ಇರ್ತಾವಲ್ಲ ಅದೆಲ್ಲ ಏನೋ ನಾವು ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪ್ರೆಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೇವಲ್ಲ ಅದು ಜೀನ್ಸ್ ಥ್ರೂನ ಆಗ್ಬೇಕು, ನಾಟ್ ಥ್ರೂ ದ ಎನ್ವಿರಾನ್ಮೆಂಟ್. ಸೊ ದ್ಯಾಟ್ ಈಸ್ ವೈ ದಿಸ್ ಥಿಯರಿ ವಾಸ್ ಎಲಿಮಿನೇಟೆಡ್. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ the theory will study. So this was all about the Lamarckism. Okay, so next comes the theory of natural selection, which is Darwinism. So it was proposed by Charles Darwin. So it was based on the observation during the sea voyage in the sail ship called HMS Beagle. So Alfred Wallace, a naturalist, work in Malay Archipelago had also come to the similar conclusions. So work of Thomas Malthus on the population influenced the Darwin. So even the Alfred Wallace and Charles Darwin were having the same thoughts on the theory of natural selection. And so there was work of Thomas Malthus which influenced the Darwin for the natural selection. So what is natural selection? Darwinism's natural selection is based on two concepts, that is branching descent and natural selection. So branching descent is nothing but it explains that all organisms are modified descendants of the previous life forms, right? So if you are saying, so what do you mean by this sentence? So we all are having some previous life forms. So if you put it in the life form branches, one organism is related to another organism, and we all are from the previous descendants, like previous life forms. Okay, so next is natural selection. So he, with an example, he can try to explain. So consider a bacterial colony A growing on the given medium. If the medium composition is changed, only part of the population can survive under the new condition. This is variant population B. Outgrows the other and appears as new species. That is, B is better than A under new condition. Thus the nature selects for fitness. What he did? So he took one bacterial colony. Okay, so this bacterial colony, what he did, he changed the medium. Medium antandre even the bacterial colony arama, so it was having its own food, it was provided all the food, everything. Now for colony A, what he did, he changed the medium andre food iruvanta environment change madbitre. So when he is changing the medium, for example, he might be adding some antibiotics, or he might be adding some other medium. ಸೊ ಆ ಮೀಡಿಯಮ್ಗೆ ಒಮ್ಮೆ ಸಡನ್ ಆಗಿ ಕಾಲನಿ ಎ ಒಳಗಿರೋ ಎಲ್ಲ ಬ್ಯಾಕ್ಟೀರಿಯಾಸು ಅಡಾಪ್ಟ್ ಆಗಕ್ಕಾಗಂಗಿಲ್ಲ. ಓನ್ಲಿ ಫ್ಯೂ ಆಫ್ ದೆಮ್ ಗಾಟ್ ಅಡಾಪ್ಟೆಡ್. ಸ್ಟಿಲ್ ಆ ಮೀಡಿಯಮ್ಗೂ ಅಡ್ಜಸ್ಟ್ ಆದು, ಆ ಫುಡ್ ಅಥವಾ ಆ ಎನ್ವಿರಾನ್ಮೆಂಟ್ಗೂ ಅಡ್ಜಸ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿ ಅವೇನು ಮಾಡತ್ತು, ಅಗೇನ್ ಗ್ರೋ ಆಗತ್ತು. ಸೊ ಗ್ರೋ ಆಗಿ ಅಗೇನ್ ತಮ್ಮ ಪಾಪ್ಯುಲೇಷನ್ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಂಡು ಕಾಲನಿ ಬಿ ಫಾರ್ಮೇಷನ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದು. ದ್ಯಾಟ್ ಮೀನ್ಸ್ ಅಂದರೆ ಇದರಿಂದ ನಮ್ಗೆ ಏನು ತಿಳಿತೈತಿ, ಕಾಲನಿ ಎ ಕಿತ್ತನು ಕಾಲನಿ ಬಿ ಈಸ್ ಬೆಟರ್ because it is having more capacity, resistant capacity to adjust to the environment. So yav ni heng nature, so nature ade tara, so nature provides different environment and the climate, it changes. Okay, which organism can fit, which organism can adjust to that changes, that they only will be selected by the nature, and those organisms only will survive. If you are not getting adjusted, adapted to the change in the environment, then that organism will be extincted. So this was proved by just a simple experiment. Okay, so this is theory of natural selection or Darwinism. Okay, so natural selection is based on the following facts: heritable, minor variations. Okay, so overproduction, limited natural resources, struggle for existence, and survival of the fittest. That is obviously most important. So which is the fittest organism will survive. So what is first one? Heritable, minor variations will be there. So overproduction, okay, and then natural resources, food will be in the limit. Okay, limited natural resources, all the organisms will have limited natural resources. Our natural resources andre it may be food, it may be shelter, it may be anything. Our natural resources melane ella organisms enagtav depend agtav. Struggle for existence, they will fight with each other, right? So to get that food, to get the natural resources, and who will survive? Who is the more strong and more fit to the environment, that organism will obviously survive. This is survival of the fittest. Okay, so that is heritable minor variations. It is either beneficial, so heritable variations may be beneficial or sometimes harmful to the organism. So overproduction, so population size grows exponentially. Okay, due to the maximum reproduction, example you can see bacterial production. Okay, when there is overproduction, population jasti adre, there will be again sources which are limited. Okay, so then resources are not increased in accordance with the population. Population jasti agite and takshana resources omme jasti agangilla. They will be, so resources enagtava, limited agtav. So when there is limited the resources, then there will be struggle for the existence. Okay, so struggle for existence and the competition jasti agtati among the organism for the resources. Okay, so that the population size is limited. So next, who will survive? The struggle for existent organism with beneficial variations can utilize the resources better, and hence they survive and reproduce. This is called as survival of the fittest. It leads to the change in the population characters and new forms appear. Who will survive in that environment? They will have the new qualities, new strengths. Okay, so new forms will be formed. Okay, so Darwin ignored about origin of variation and mechanism of evolution, or also speciation. Okay, so this you should remember. What are the points that Darwin ignored when it comes to natural selection? He ignored the origin of variations like mutations. Okay, he did not think about how the mutations may occur for the organisms to resist. Iga bacteria one type in the colony A in the colony B ಒಳಗ, ಸೊ ಕಾಲನಿ ಎ ಒಳಗಿರೋ ಬ್ಯಾಕ್ಟೀರಿಯಾಸ್ಗಿಂತ ಕಾಲನಿ ಬಿ ಒಳಗೆ ಬ್ಯಾಕ್ಟೀರಿಯಾ ಸ್ಟ್ರಾಂಗ್ ಅದಾವನ್ರಿ. ಸೊ ದೇ ಗಾಟ್ ಅಡಾಪ್ಟೆಡ್ ಟು ದಟ್ ಎನ್ವಿರಾನ್ಮೆಂಟ್. ಸೊ ವಾಟ್ ಈಸ್ ದ mutation or what made that bacteria to survive in that new environment? So genetically ಯಾವ ತರ ಸ್ಟ್ರಾಂಗ್ ಆಯ್ತದೆ, ಸೊ that variation that he ignored. Okay, so mechanism of evolution or speciation also he ignored. Okay, so next, Hugo de Vries proposed the mutation theory of evolution. So what he proposed? He proposed the mutation theory. He conducted some experiment on the evening primrose. Okay, so what he did, he did some experiment on this, so which is Onothera lamarckiana, and believed that evolution takes place through the mutation and not by the minor variation. He says that, so just one minor variation ಅಥವಾ ಏನೋ ಒಂದು ಚೇಂಜ್ ಆಗೋದ್ರಿಂದ ಎವಲ್ಯೂಷನ್ ಆಗಂಗಿಲ್ಲ, ರೈಟ್? ಸೊ ಎವಲ್ಯೂಷನ್ ಪ್ರಾಪರ್ ಆಗಬೇಕಂದ್ರೆ ಜೀನ್ಸ್ ಒಳಗೂ ಮ್ಯೂಟೇಷನ್ಸ್ ಆಗಬೇಕು. ಜೀನ್ಸ್ ಒಳಗೆ ಮ್ಯೂಟೇಷನ್ಸ್ ಆದರೆ ಆಬ್ವಿಯಸ್ಲಿ ಕ್ಯಾರೆಕ್ಟರ್ಸ್, ಆಸ್ ವಿ ನೋ, ಜೀನ್ಸ್ they will be responsible for producing the characters, right? So we have studied. So genes, if they are changed, if the mutations is there, then the genes will change, right? So the characters will also change, and the evolution, that is change in the forms, should be from the mutations. So he believed that evolution takes place through the mutation and not by the minor variation. So Darwinian variation is minor. So according to Darwinism, so adapting to that environment. Okay, so and then the population has to adapt to that environment. According to him, if we consider, it is minor, it is slow, it is one direction, and it is gradual evolution. But mutation variation now consider madidre, it might be sudden sometimes, and it is not for any specific, it is very random, and it is not having any direction, it is directionless. Here speciation is by saltation, that is single step and large mutation. Okay, so there will be single step and there will be larger mutation. So example you can see. Okay, so due to the mutation only, the largest changes, larger and sudden changes will occur due to the mutation. We have studied what is mutation. So sudden change in the genetic material. Okay, types of mutations are also there. So based on that only, the morphological changes will also occur. So the character changes, the production of new varieties will also occur due to the mutation, which is very random and it is not having any direction. Okay, so these are some theories of biological evolution. So now we will study a very, very important topic, that is Hardy-Weinberg's principle. So what is Hardy-Weinberg's principle? It says that allele frequency in a population are stable and is constant from generation to generation in the absence of disturbing factors. So the gene pool, total genes and their alleles in the population remains a constant. This is called as genetic equilibrium. Hardy-Weinberg's, we also call it as Hardy-Weinberg's equilibrium, and sum of total of the allele frequency is equals to 1. So what is the meaning of this definition? So all the frequencies in a population, okay, so all frequency antandre, so frequency of different alleles, particular alleles. One population compare madidre one allele, one gene, one expression. Okay, so they will be stable and constant from one generation in the ಇನ್ನೊಂದು generation ಗೆ. So in the absence of disturbing factors ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಅದು ಸೇಮ್ ಇರಬೇಕು. ಪಾಪ್ಯುಲೇಷನ್ ಸೇಮ್ ಇದ್ದಾಗ ಒಂದು ಪಾಪ್ಯುಲೇಷನ್ ನೀವು ಕನ್ಸಿಡರ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರಿ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ, ಸೊ ಆ ಪಾಪ್ಯುಲೇಷನ್ ಒಳಗಿರುವಂಥ ಅಲೀಲ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ದ ಜೀನ್ಸ್ ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ ಕಾನ್ಸ್ಟೆಂಟ್. Okay, so will be constant, and the one generation in the ಇನ್ನೊಂದು generation ಒಳಗು characters everything will be constant. Okay, so but in the absence of disturbing factors. So what are these disturbing factors? That will study. So but first we'll study Hardy-Weinberg's principle in like what is the meaning and equation we'll study. Okay, as I told, if you consider one population, so alleles expressed and the genes, they will be stable, constant, and without the disturbing factors. If you consider, for example, a diploid P and Q are the frequencies of alleles A and B, A and capital A and small a respectively. Okay, so diploid antandre, obviously we all are diploid organisms, double chromosome. Okay, one organism, if you consider diploid organism, P and Q are the frequencies of alleles, that is A and A respectively. Frequency of dominant A and A, P square, recessive A and A, if it is Q square, dominant allele, recessive allele. ಯಾವ ತರ ಇರ್ತಾವ? Equilibrium ಒಳಗಿರ್ತಾವ. AA, that is 2PQ. Okay, so this total binomial equation ನಾವು ಅದನ್ನ binomial equation ಒಳಗೆ ನಾವು represent ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ it will be P square plus Q 2PQ plus Q square, that is equal to 1. Okay, so ಯಾವುದೋ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಟರ್ನಲ್ ಫ್ಯಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಏನು ಅದಕ್ಕೇನು ಆ ಪಾಪ್ಯುಲೇಷನ್ಗೆ ಡಿಸ್ಟರ್ಬ್ ಮಾಡಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ದ ಡಾಮಿನೆಂಟ್ ಅಲೀಲ್, ದ ರಿಸೆಸಿವ್ ಅಲೀಲ್, ದ ಹಿಟ್ರೋಜೈಗಸ್ ಕಂಡೀಷನ್ ಆಲ್ ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ ಇನ್ ದಿ ಕಾನ್ಸ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ಇಕ್ವಿಲಿಬ್ರಿಯಂ ಒಳಗಿರ್ತಾವ. ಇಕ್ವಿಲಿಬ್ರಿಯಂ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಸ್ಟೇಬಲ್ ಕಂಡೀಷನ್ ಒಳಗಿರ್ತಾವ ಅಂತ Hardy-Weinberg ಪ್ರಪೋಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾನೆ. Okay, so what are the other factors? ಯಾವ factors change, but it is not actually happening in any population. Common ಆಗಿ obviously if there is no disturbing factor, then only it will be agreed. So how come there is no factor affecting in any population? So what are these affecting factors? Gene migration, gene flow from one population to another population. Gene will flow, organism will migrate from one population to another. So genetic drift ಆಗ್ತೈತಿ gene flow ಆದ್ರೆ. Okay, so mutation ಅಂತೂ ಆಗುದ naturally, and genetic recombination is also very important. So natural selection is also very important. So all these disturbing factors for Hardy-Weinberg's equilibrium. So if all these factors are not there, then the Hardy-Weinberg's equilibrium will be accepted, or else if these all factors will be there, then the Hardy-Weinberg's principle or equilibrium or this equation will vary. Okay, so once again I'll explain what is Hardy-Weinberg's equilibrium. If you consider a population, the amount of the frequency of the dominant and frequency of the recessive and the heterozygous condition, if you consider all of them, they will be stable and they will be constant if you consider one population without any disturbance. Okay, so if you consider the equation, it is p square plus q square plus 2pq is equal to 1. But what are the factors affecting the Hardy-Weinberg's law? Gene migration, genetic drift, genetic recombination, mutation, natural selection. But that is not possible. If these factors are not there, then the Hardy-Weinberg's equilibrium or principle is accepted. Okay, so next, first one by one the factors we can study. What is gene migration? It is the gene flow from one population to another population. Here the gene frequencies change in the both population obviously, and the gene flow occurs in the migration if the migration happens multiple times. Okay, so from one population, there is no rule that from one population another population the organism should not migrate. Organism will migrate from one place to another, one population to another. If the organism is migrating, right, the genes are also migrating, right? So if there is crossing over, the genes are also migrating. Okay, so this is called as gene migration. So genetic drift. So gene flow by chance causing the change in the frequency. Sometimes change in the frequency is so different in the new sample of population that they become different species. Their original drifted population becomes founders, and the effect is called as founder effect. Okay, so if the, as you can see here, if there is, as you can see with the picture here, what is founder effect? From one population, if the gene flow is occurring, so the population, the original different population, it becomes the founder. So that itself we call it as founder effect. And there is genetic drift. What is genetic drift? Gene is flowing from one population to another because of gene flow. Okay, because of migration. Okay, so the frequency is different now in that population. So if the frequency is different and it is continuously happening, then the genes will be obviously due to the combination, the genes will be different, and that we call it as genetic drift. So next comes the mutation. Mutation is, as we have seen, mutation is very important for the evolution. So it also reforms the new phenotypes. Okay, mutation which will result in new forms, new phenotype. Over few generations, this also leads in speciation. So speciation andre different hange baalashtu mutation agta different types formation adre speciation, different species formation agtade, and different types are different morphology, different phenotypes can be formed due to the mutation. Okay, so next comes genetic recombination. So it is a reshuffling of the gene combinations during the crossing over or the resulting in genetic variation, right? So if there is migration, if there is gene flow, so obviously the recombination will occur. Recombination will again bring the genetic variation. So E type obviously the recombinants will be different varieties. They show different characters, different phenotype, right? So the recombination. Next, natural selection. So even in natural selection also there are three types: stabilizing selection, directional selection, and disruptive selection. Okay, so what is stabilizing selection? Here more individuals acquire mean character value and variation is reduced. So all maximum of the individual will have the mean character. Mean character and the majority of the character. So then we call it as stabilizing selection. What is directional selection? Here the individuals will have one individuals of one extreme value other than mean character value. So then they are more favored. Okay, so then it will be shifting towards the one who is having more value. So phenotypes of favored by natural selection, medium size individuals are favored. So peak shift one direction ಒಳಗೆ ಏನಾಗ್ತೈತಿ shift ಆಗ್ತೈತಿ. If you put a graph, so when there is there will be peak shift in the one direction. Okay, so if there is one individuals of one extreme, are more favored. Okay, so they are not equilibrium, so it is called directional selection. So they one type of or one extreme are more favored. Next, disruptive selection. Here individuals of both extremes or peripheral character value at both the ends and disruptive curve are more favored. So that is both the extremes are more favored. Then we call it as disruptive selection. You can just see it through this picture. So if there is only one type of species, it is only majority, okay, mean type, then it is stabilizing selection, that is only selected. If there is one type of species which is extreme end and it is only more favored, so environment or nature is favoring only those species, then it becomes directional selection. So disruptive selection is there are two different varieties and both are favored, then it is disruptive selection. Okay, so these are three types of natural selection. So these are the factors that actually affect the Hardy-Weinberg's equilibrium. So if there are no such factors, then Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium will be stable. Okay, so next we'll study the brief account of evolution. Okay, so there are eras. Okay, we can geological time scale. So we can, as you can see, in which scale, in which geological time, the different what kind of species they actually occurred. Okay, so that we can study through the geological time scale. So Proterozoic era, Paleozoic era, Mesozoic era, and Cenozoic era. So Proterozoic era, that is from 2500 to 541 million years ago. Okay, so first Proterozoic era antandre, that is obviously protozoans, right? So first cellular forms, unicellular, so they appeared like around 2000 million years ago. Okay, so some of the cells had ability to release oxygen as a light reaction in the photosynthesis. Some of the organisms, unicellular organisms, were also able to give oxygen, okay, perform photosynthesis. Single-celled organism became, and then single-celled organisms started becoming multicellular organisms. Next, Paleozoic era. So again, Paleozoic era has 6 periods: Cambrian, Ordovician, Silurian, Devonian, Carboniferous, and Permian. So this is based on the periods. So 6 periods, that is 640 to 490 million years ago, again like that. Okay, so Paleozoic era. Okay, so we can see what are the different organisms actually, what type of organisms existed. So there are invertebrates started forming. Okay, so Proterozoic era there were only single cellular organisms, then extinction, then evolution agta what happened, invertebrates started to form. So first land organisms also appeared 450 million years ago. Then arthropods. Okay, arthropods invaded the land, they started appearing on the land. And then jawless fishes, okay, a jawless fish like this, they started appearing around 350 million years ago. So lobe fins, stout and strong finned fishes could move on land and go back to water. They evolved to first amphibians, ancestors of modern day frogs and salamanders. So they were next what happened? So next they started to appear both on the land as well as in the water. Okay, so just like, so they are like ancestors of modern day frogs as well as salamanders, which will be surviving on the land as well as in the water. Okay, so next, as you can see here, okay, so next jawless fish were involved. Okay, so next what happened, In 1938, a lobe fin called coelacanth fish was caught in South Africa, which was thought to be extinct. So it was thought that it got extincted. It is not at all there, but actually it was found. Okay, it was caught there. Okay, in 1938. Okay, which is 325 million year old lobe fin coelacanth is very much alive. Okay, so that was the news that time. Okay, so which was alive. So as you can see how it used to be coelacanth. Okay, so next, so now amphibians got existed, no? So next what happened, seed beads and few plants all also started existing. Okay, so and amphibians, then later amphibians in water matta land ಒಳಗೆ evolve ಆಗತ್ತದ್ವ ಅವೇನಾದ್ವ they started evolving to reptiles. They lay thick shelled eggs and they do not dry up in the sun. So giant ferns like pteridophytes were present, but they all fell to form coal deposits slowly. Okay, fell to form the coal which deposits very slowly. From then only we are able to find out the how the organisms were there. Okay, so age of reptiles and gymnosperms, it has three periods: Triassic, Jurassic and Cretaceous. Triassic 230 million years ago, 280 million years ago, and Cretaceous 144 million years ago. So Mesozoic era, so 200 million years ago, some of the land reptiles went back into the water to evolve into the fish-like reptiles, like for example ichthyosaurs. Okay, so some land reptiles, so what they did, they went back to the water and they started to evolve like fish-like reptiles which used to look like fish. Okay, so which is ichthyosaurus. As you can see, their stout, you can see how it is reptile like, but they started to go to the water. Okay, so next, the land reptiles which are like dinosaurs. Okay, so tyrannosaurs. Okay, so all of them, they started appearing. Okay, so in the Mesozoic era. So as you can see the pictures, triceratops. Okay, so next examples, you can see, you might have seen it in some animated videos or movies. Okay, so as you can see here, brachiosaurs. So these animals started appearing. So the Tyrannosaurus rex was the largest dinosaur. It was found to be a largest dinosaur which is 20 feet in height, and huge fearsome dagger-like teeth was present. Toothed birds were started emerging. So after Mesozoic era, Cenozoic era, 66 million years ago, right? So age of mammals and angiosperms. Okay, so they started appearing. So it has again two periods: tertiary 66 million ago and quaternary 2 million ago, which is age of man. So 65 million ago, dinosaurs, what happened, they suddenly disappeared. So because some say it is might be due to the changes that in the environment that killed them. Some of them say they might have got evolved and they might have become birds. Okay, so first mammals were shrew-like some of them, they behave like a rat. That is why we call them shrew-like. So their fossils are small sized. So by the, like here it is there, see, shrew-like meaning, so they'll be like this. Okay, so by their fossils which are very small size, by them we can say mammals were appeared and they were shrew-like. So Cenozoic era, In the South America, there were mammals resembling horse, hippopotamus, bear, rabbit, etc. So due to continental drift, so when there was drift in the continent, so when South America joined the North America, these animals were overridden by the North American fauna. Okay, so that means they were overridden and they started surviving there. Okay. Due to the continental drift, Australian marsupials survived because of lack of competition from any other mammals. Okay, so that was also found by in the Cenozoic era. So marsupials, Australian marsupials, because there was no much of the competition, they survived. So just you can see how in which Jurassic time, Cretaceous time, what kind of animals were present. Okay, what the kind of birds, the plants were there, so that you can just go through. So now we'll study origin and evolution of man. So when you consider, so this was all about the different periods. Okay, it was all about the brief account of evolution based on the geological time scale. So we have seen 4 different eras. So Cenozoic, Mesozoic, and then Paleozoic, and then we started with Proterozoic. So from Proterozoic era, then Paleozoic, Mesozoic, and Cenozoic, which was the last era. So how the actually organisms from Proterozoic era, so how the single cellular organisms. Now we'll study the origin and evolution of man. Okay, so how the man has got originated or how he got evoluted. So Dryopithecus and Ramapithecus. So 15 million years ago, so the man was found to be very hairy. Okay, as you can see here, very hairy, walk like gorillas and chimpanzees. So Dryopithecus, what is meaning of Dryopithecus? He is more ape-like. Okay, Ramapithecus, and then later he evolved to little man-like. Okay, so origin and evolution of man, you can see 3 to 4 million years ago there was man-like primates which were found in Eastern Africa. So they had height up to 4 feet and they walked upright the way we walk now. So this belief is based on fossils of man-like bones found in the Ethiopia and Tanzania. Okay, so they found some of the fossils. Based on the study of these fossils, they got to know that the man-like organism, so man or not man-like organism, so that time 3 to 4 million years ago, the man-like primate actually, so they lived in Eastern Africa, who was 4 feet and he was walked upright. Okay, so next comes Australopithecus. 2 million years ago they lived in East Africa, which is East African grasslands, so hunted with stones and weapons. That man, he used to hunt with using stone as weapons, and he used to eat the fruits. Okay, so next, Homo habilis. Homo habilis is 2 million years ago. He was first human-like being. So he not completely human. He was human-like being who was called as hominid. So his brain capacity was from 650 to 800 cc, and he did not eat meat. So 1.5, so brain capacity, then Homo erectus. So next comes the Homo erectus, who got evolved to Homo erectus, who was like around 1.5 million years ago, who had more developed brain capacity, that is 900 cc, and he used to hunt and he used to eat meat. Okay, he used to eat meat. Found that this man who Homo erectus used to eat meat. Next comes Homo neanderthalis. So we also call him Neanderthal man. So 1 lakh to 40,000 years ago, so brain capacity was again more developed, 1400 cc, who lived in East and Central Asia. He used to used hides to protect their body. So he used to hide, and he used to protect their body, and he buried their dead. That means he is having that much developed he is. That means whoever has got dead in his company, he used to bury them. Okay, so that practice was there that time. Whom? Neanderthal man. Okay, so next comes the Homo sapiens, that is modern man. So who appeared about 75,000 to 10,000 years ago, which was also called as Ice Age. Prehistoric cave art you might have seen. So cave art, it was all developed around 18,000 years ago. So, and also this new man or the modern man, he also practiced agriculture and human settlements about 10,000 years ago. So origin of evolution of man. So Dryopithecus, Ramapithecus, Australopithecus, Homo habilis, Homo erectus, Homo neanderthalensis, and then Homo sapiens. Okay, so this completes this origin of evolution of man, completes the chapter evolution. So the purpose of making the video is this chapter is having different terminologies and different concept. This is very easy chapter, so you can just go through, and I have also discussed in between so some of the important topics that you can come across. So you just have to concentrate on Miller's experiment, and you have to practice the diagram, and industrialism, that is melanism with respect to natural selection, that you have to remember. Hardy-Weinberg's law you have to remember, and origin and evolution of man, what are the different stages, that you have to remember. So other things, what is natural selection, what is so different terminologies. Okay, so that you have to the theories of evolution, so all of those you have to remember, and if you go through, it is very easy. Hope you understood the chapter, and thank you so much.